Hey guys, Adam here. We're continuing our series through the Sermon on the Mount, and we are looking at Matthew 5 verse 13, where Jesus says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if salt becomes tasteless, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out for people to trample on," meaning it's going to be thrown out, it's going to be worthless. Jesus is referencing also the end of the age when he's referencing it as worthless, thrown out to be trampled on, right? But I believe Jesus is also representing that salt is a preserving thing that was used to preserve meat. That we are here on the earth preserving the righteousness and the right lifestyle amongst a wicked and sinful generation. We are, and so Jesus is just coming off his statements of the Beatitudes, right? He's just coming off saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are the meek, blessed are those that show mercy, blessed are the pure in heart, blessed are the peacemakers." So when you're a peacemaker who is operating with pureness of heart, you're being salt in the earth, right? So that's what Jesus is talking about. He's not making a new statement, like as if it's disconnected from the other things. He's continuing his line of thought through the Sermon on the Mount. So what is he saying? He's saying when you're salt, you're preserving the righteousness of God in the earth by bringing conviction to people, which causes you to get insulted, which causes you to be persecuted. You're carrying a pure heart and a pure desire to love God in this life, on this side of eternity, and therefore you're getting pushback from people. And because you're like salt, and sometimes salt actually hurts and makes a wound a lot worse. And we live in a wounded generation. We live amongst a wounded people. There's so many people that are hurting, so many people that are lost and broken, and we're the preserving agent that sometimes, though, if we don't follow Jesus and we're not walking carefully, we can actually cause more damage and wounds to people by our words. But that's why Jesus says, "Blessed are the merciful." We want to show mercy out of a pure heart of love to people. But we also don't want to compromise that by not speaking the truth. We want to speak the truth in love. We want to be salt in the earth. We want to be the preserving agent as people look to us for reasons why we're different. You know, and that's the thing about a Christian. A Christian is not some coward who sits in the back room who does not experience a hard life. A Christian is a person who lives his life out in the open, who is real and authentic, who has a real faith, who has a real connection to a real God. You know, and we're not some phony people, man, that go around and we're just some cowards and we just let everybody fly by and say whatever. No, we carry a message and a gospel that is so real. Our Savior Jesus is in heaven. He's risen from the dead, and he's at the right hand right now interceding for us. So we have such hope, and he said he's going to return to this earth one day. And so our message of hope that we have to offer to the world, it's salty. Sometimes it's not received well. You know, you might get insulted. You might get persecuted like the prophets of old. You might get harmed. You actually might get excluded. People might not like you anymore, right? Because, and this is the thing I think Jesus is getting at, is that some people want to make it out to seem that, oh yeah, the more you follow Christ, the more you just do that, the more you're just going to be blessed and your life is just going to get better. Your whole life's going to get easier. You're just going to have an abundance of finances, and that's the blessed life that Jesus is talking about. But when you read the scriptures, when you actually look at this, Jesus is saying, "Blessed are you when you're persecuted." There's going to be pushback from people when you're actually living right and when you're actually following Jesus. So if you're not getting pushback, you know, if you could take this and you look at the Luke 6 chapter where Jesus says, "Woe unto you when all men speak well of you, for so they did the false prophets." So when you look at this, where Jesus said, "You are the salt for the land," sometimes that's not always a positive thing. That's not always a positive thing. Like you're going around just being salt in the earth. That's a very negative thing sometimes that receives a lot of pushback. And it's a very painful thing to be associated with the prophets. But Jesus said his true followers would be persecuted like the prophets, and we would be the salt in the land. But that's the thing, is that you don't want to become worthless, like Jesus said, that you'll be trampled on, which I believe is a statement referencing the judgment, that you will be thrown out, you will be trampled on, right? He says that people will be weeded out of his kingdom at the end of the age. And that's one of the things that we're looking at when we're continuing to look at the Sermon on the Mount, is that Jesus is an apocalyptic prophet, meaning he's going to make so many references to the end of the age, to the judgment of God, and to where we're going to have to stand before God on Judgment Day. And so you're going to continue to see how Jesus always pushes everything to its ultimate end, right? And so if we go back and just look at the Beatitudes a little bit, where he says, "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land." He's saying, blessed are the meek in this age, for in the age to come, after the day of judgment, they will inherit the land, right? Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness in this age, for in the age to come, they will be filled, right? Blessed are the poor in spirit in this age, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven in the age to come. So there's a two-age reality that Jesus continues to reference to, which a lot of people are ignorant of, and they just think it's some kind of spiritual fulfillment now, that Jesus has no thoughts of what's going to happen in the future of the age to come. And so when we read and we continue through this series on the Sermon on the Mount, we want to make sure that we are the salty people who are preserving righteousness in the earth, that we are the righteousness of God, that we're actually following Jesus. And proof of that is pushback and persecution from other people that aren't living right. And Jesus experienced much of that from the Pharisees. And so we're going to experience the same things too, if we're his true followers.